I pull into the curved shell driveway of my beach house, tires crunching over the familiar surface, and immediately sense something is wrong. 4 cars I don't recognize are squeezed into the space that usually holds only my practical Subaru. A knot forms in my stomach as I maneuver awkwardly behind them. This was meant to be my peaceful Friday escape, the quiet refuge I've anticipated all week while reviewing mortgage files at Coastal Florida Bank. The image of my porch swing, a worn paperback in my lap, and the steady rhythm of distant waves had been the only thing keeping me grounded. As I step out into the sharp, salty breeze, a murmur of voices reaches me, too many voices drifting from the direction of my backyard. The side gate stands wide open, and through it I catch sight of something that looks impossibly out of place. A wedding arch? My steps quicken as I round the side of the house, and the scene that unfolds before me stops me cold. My meticulously maintained lawn has been converted into a full wedding setup. Rows of white folding chairs line a central aisle, perfectly arranged. A huge tent rises at the far end of the yard, while strangers hurry back and forth arranging flowers and stringing lights across my porch railings. At the center of this organized chaos stands my sister Serena, a clipboard tucked under her arm, directing a man balancing on a ladder near my grandmother's oak tree. "The lights should drape through those branches," she instructs confidently, her voice carrying the commanding certainty she has possessed since childhood. Thomas and I want a magical atmosphere when we share our first dance. I remain still, unnoticed, as Serena pivots to critique a woman positioning white rose arrangements. "The centerpieces need more height," she says. "We want something dramatic. And confirm whether the caterer responded about the seafood menu." My thoughts spin wildly. Caterer? First dance? Thomas has only been Serena's boyfriend for 8 months. I'd heard nothing about an engagement, let alone a wedding taking place at my home. Finally, the shock loosens its grip, and I step forward. The smooth garden stones cool beneath my feet. Serena notices me, and for a fleeting moment something like guilt flickers across her face before she beams brightly. "Rain, perfect timing," she calls cheerfully, waving me over as though I'm just another vendor. "We need your opinion on the seating chart." My voice struggles to emerge. "What exactly is happening here?" Her smile never wavers. "Oh, didn't Mom mention it? We're finalizing everything. The ceremony's next Saturday. You arrived just in time to help with place settings." My gaze travels across the transformed property, my sanctuary, the weekend haven I sacrificed 5 years of double shifts to afford. The down payment represented countless declined invitations, frugal meals, and relentless work. "You're holding your wedding here? At my house?" The words leave my lips, strained and uncertain. A sharply dressed woman approaches, extending her hand. "You must be the generous sister I've heard so much about. I'm Vanessa, the wedding planner. This venue is absolutely ideal for Serena and Thomas's vision." I shake her hand automatically, her words echoing in my mind. Generous sister, venue. Nearby, a table displays a stack of elegant cream envelopes. I pick one up, sliding out the embossed invitation. The words blur before settling into focus. "Joyfully invite you to celebrate their marriage at the Bennett Beach House, 219 Pelican Way, Sandpiper Beach, Florida." A memory surges uninvited. Standing in this very yard 5 years earlier, keys trembling in my hand as the realtor congratulated me. The endless overtime, the sacrifices, the promotion earned through sheer persistence, all culminating in the ownership of this small piece of paradise. Then my mother's voice had sliced through my pride. Such a waste for one person. The family could have invested in something we all shared. Serena, already holding champagne, had laughed. "This will be perfect for family gatherings. I can't wait to bring friends here." Even then, I'd smiled politely while sensing my ownership slipping away, despite the deed bearing only my name. Since that moment, the boundaries had gradually eroded. My parents brought guests unannounced. Serena used the house for weekend trips. The emergency key I'd given my mother somehow multiplied. Relatives came and went freely, leaving behind disorder I quietly cleaned. Whenever I raised concerns, the response was always the same. "We're family. No need for rules." Vanessa's voice draws me back. "Serena told us you were delighted to host. We've been coordinating everything for months." Months. They've been organizing this without ever speaking to me. Something shifts deep within me. Years of being the dependable daughter, the accommodating one, the peacekeeper, suddenly feel unbearable. For a moment, I imagined tearing down every decoration and demanding everyone leave. Instead, a strange calm settles over me. "Excuse me," I say softly, turning toward my car. "Rain," Serena calls after me. "Where are you going? We need help with the seating arrangements." I continue walking, gripping my keys tightly. "Rain," her voice sharpens. "Don't be difficult. We have family obligations." The word reverberates in my mind as I slide into the driver's seat. Obligations. Always mine toward them, never theirs toward me. As I drive away, I glimpse Serena's irritated expression in the mirror. For the first time in years, guilt does not follow me. Instead, something unfamiliar rises within me. Resolve. I wander aimlessly for nearly an hour before reaching my apartment, my hands still tense on the steering wheel. The invasion of my beach retreat replays in my mind like an endless nightmare. Inside, I drop my purse on the counter and sink onto the couch. My phone vibrates relentlessly. Missed calls from Serena, from Mom, a curt message from Dad ordering me to call back. Instead, I open my laptop and search Serena Bennett wedding. The results make my stomach churn. A Pinterest board appears first. Beach House Dream Wedding, created 8 months ago. 8 months of planning without a single conversation with me. Her Instagram shows photos of Serena and Thomas raising champagne glasses on my porch, captioned "Final venue walkthrough at my amazing sister's beach house. 3-day celebration, 150 guests." Comments from relatives praise my supposed generosity. So wonderful of Rain to donate her home. What a selfless sister. Donate? I never offered anything. A private message appears from Thomas, apologizing, claiming he urged Serena to ask properly. I stare at the screen, unsure how to reply, when my phone rings again. Mom's voice greets me with sharp frustration. "What were you thinking, leaving like that? Serena is devastated. The planner needs your decisions." "Did you know she was planning her wedding at my house without asking?" I interrupt. A brief pause. "Of course I knew. Everyone did. You hardly use the place anyway." While she speaks, I scroll through old messages between my parents. One exchange stands out. "Rain won't mind," Mom wrote. "She never uses it. Serena needs this." Dad had asked whether they should tell me. Mom replied that it was better not to. "Serena says it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission." The message was sent 4 months earlier. I end the call and continue digging. A family group chat I was never invited to contains extensive planning discussions for the wedding at my property. Relatives coordinate transportation, seating, accommodations, all assuming my consent.
I retrieve my property deed, smoothing the paper with shaking hands. Rain Elizabeth Bennett, sole owner. Every mortgage payment, utility bill, and maintenance cost paid from my account alone. The realization arrives with stunning clarity. This isn't about property. It's about respect. I research trespassing laws, unauthorized use of private property, and calculate potential costs for hosting 150 guests. The figures rise quickly. Liability risks, damage, expenses. Marlene, my closest friend since college, calls after receiving her invitation. When I explain everything, she responds firmly. "You're not wrong to be angry. This is outrageous. What will you do?" "I'm not sure yet," I say, but I refuse to be walked over anymore. At work the following day, my colleague James listens as I briefly describe the situation. "Sounds like they crossed a line and expect you to accept it," he says knowingly. "Stand your ground. Family often ignores boundaries because they assume forgiveness is guaranteed." Later that afternoon, a neighbor texts about constant activity at the beach house. A plan begins forming. I drive there after work and watch from across the street as Serena supervises decorators entering my home, my sanctuary. At a hardware store, I purchase new locks and security cameras. After Serena leaves, a locksmith secures the property. By sunset, the house is protected. Back at my apartment, I draft a concise email informing my family that access to my property now requires permission and that the locks have been changed. I send it and silence my phone as immediate protests flood in. My mother demands the spare key. My father insists I call. Serena leaves an emotional voicemail accusing me of ruining everything. I respond once. "This is my property, purchased with my money. No one uses it without my consent." Then I ignore all further messages and search for alternatives. A tourism company seeking luxury rental properties catches my attention. I study their terms carefully and begin crafting a plan, documenting the condition of my home, calculating fair rental rates, preparing legal protections. When I finally sign the agreement, I recognize the significance of the moment. There is no turning back, and I feel no regret. 2 days later, my phone vibrates for the 17th time that morning as I attempt to focus on work at Coastal Florida Bank. Serena's messages accuse me of being unreasonable. I silence the device. James notices my tension. "My family discovered that boundaries exist," I tell him calmly. The elevator chime draws my attention. My mother strides across the marble floor, dressed in her immaculate church attire, determination etched in every step. "She wouldn't," I whisper, "but of course she would." I intercept her before she reaches my desk. "Mother, this is my workplace." "Apparently the only place you can be reached," she replies loudly enough for nearby colleagues to hear. "You ignore calls and change locks without warning." The old version of me would have rushed to minimize the scene. Instead, a steady calm anchors me. "We can speak after work. Bayside Cafe at 5:30.
Your sister is heartbroken. The venue was perfect. Do you understand what you've done? 5:30, I repeat quietly but firmly, or not at all. She blinks twice, the gesture almost comical in its surprise. Without another word, she turns and leaves, her heels striking the floor with diminished authority. James whistles low when I return to my desk. That was impressive. I'm as surprised as he is. That evening, I pull into the parking lot of Coral Gables restaurant, where my family has arranged what can only be described as an intervention. Through the window, I see them already seated at our usual corner table. Mother, father, Serena, and to my surprise, Aunt Linda, whose disapproval has terrified me since childhood. You don't have to go in, Marlene says from the passenger seat. My friend insisted on coming when I mentioned the dinner, calling herself my boundary bodyguard. Actually, I say, finding that strange calm again, I do. Inside, Serena doesn't wait for me to sit before launching her attack. My dream wedding is ruined, she announces, eyes already glistening with practiced tears. The alternative venue is half the size, and nowhere near the beach. Thomas's family is questioning everything now. Father clears his throat. Pumpkin, we understand you were unsurprised by the arrangements, but surely we can work something out. After everything we've done for you, Mother adds, her voice trembling with restrained emotion. I changed my entire career to give you girls opportunities. I drove you to piano lessons for 8 years. Piano lessons I begged to quit after 3 months, I say quietly. Aunt Linda leans forward. Rain, in our family, we support each other. Your grandfather would be ashamed to see this selfishness. The table falls silent at the mention of Grandpa Joe, the ultimate family authority even years after his death. This is their nuclear option. I take a slow breath, then look directly at my sister. Name one time you asked permission before using my house. Serena blinks. What? One time, just one example when you called ahead, asked if I minded, and respected my answer. Her mouth opens, then closes. Name one weekend when you left the house exactly as you found it. I continue, turning to my parents. One occasion when you didn't bring extra people I'd never met. One visit when you actually treated it as my property rather than the family vacation home. The silence stretches. You can't, I say, my voice still quiet but carrying a new weight, because it never happened. Mother recovers first. This vindictive behavior is... Actually, Marlene interjects, setting her phone on the table. I have something relevant. She taps the screen, pulling up a calendar. Rain made this request 7 months ago. It shows every time she asked her family to please call before coming to her house. 26 requests in 3 years, each one documented with the date and response. James helped me compile this record last week, combing through text messages and emails I'd nearly forgotten. The evidence of my ignored boundaries, laid out chronologically, had been shocking even to me. Father shifts uncomfortably in his seat. No one's denying there might have been some miscommunications. It's done anyway, I say, cutting through the tension. The house is rented to Sandpiper Tours for the next 3 weekends, including Serena's wedding date. The contract is signed. The deposit is paid. Serena's tears vanish instantly. You what? I slide a folder across the table. The rental agreement, fully legal and binding. That night, I finalize the last details. The tourism company agreement sits signed on my coffee table. My lawyer's letter confirming my exclusive property rights is ready to be sent if needed. The security cameras I installed yesterday are already transmitting footage to my phone. Thomas's text arrives as I'm preparing for bed. I respect what you're doing even though I can't say it publicly yet. This wasn't right from the beginning. For a moment, doubt creeps in. Am I being too harsh? The remembered image of strangers rifling through my bedroom drawers during last year's small family gathering banishes the thought. This isn't about punishing them. This is about respecting myself. I think about the years of coming home to moved furniture, borrowed items never returned, and casual disregard.
The night I arrived to find 16 strangers having a party, my personal photos handled by people who didn't know my name. The constant assumption that what's mine is everyone's exclusively, but what's theirs remains exclusively theirs. The weight I've carried for years begins to lift. For the first time since buying the beach house, I feel like its true owner. Tomorrow might bring more confrontations, more tears and accusations, but tonight I am certain this is what freedom feels like. For the first time since discovering the wedding plans, I sleep soundly that night, no longer tangled in bed sheets damp with anxiety sweat. The realization comes in the morning sunshine. Their reactions only confirm I'm making the right decision. This house was always mine, never theirs. The day before the wedding, even though I said no at that dinner, I watched through binoculars from my parked car across the street
as my family transforms my beach house into Wedding Central. The scene unfolds exactly as I anticipated. Serena stands in the center of my backyard, clipboard in hand, directing traffic like a seasoned film director. The arch needs to be centered perfectly with the ocean view, she calls to two men struggling with a white wooden structure. And those chairs should form a gentle curve, not straight rows. This isn't a high school graduation. And him. My mother kneels by the garden beds, arranging white roses and baby's breath in stone planters. She seems to be talking to the flowers as she works, probably telling them stories about her own wedding 35 years ago. Dad follows behind a caterer, nodding at everything the man says, while occasionally checking his watch. I check mine too. 3, 2, 1. Right on schedule, a white van with coastal Florida tours emblazoned on the side pulls into my driveway. 2 more vehicles follow, parking behind it. 7 uniformed employees exit the vehicles, clipboards and equipment in hand. Through my binoculars, I can see the exact moment confusion ripples across my family's faces. The tour manager, a tall woman with silver hair pulled into a professional bun, approaches Serena with an outstretched hand. Even from this distance, I can read the body language. Serena's spine stiffens. Her head tilts in that particular way it does when something isn't going according to her plan. I start my car, but don't drive closer. Not yet. My phone buzzes with a text from the tour manager. We've made contact. Contract presented as instructed. I imagine the scene. The manager showing Serena a legally binding document with my signature dated 3 weeks ago. The reservation for a corporate retreat starting tomorrow morning with setup scheduled for this afternoon. Exclusive use of the property for the entire weekend. My phone erupts with calls. Mom, Dad, Mom again, Serena. I let them all go to voicemail. This moment has been carefully choreographed, and I won't disrupt it by engaging too early. Through my binoculars, I watch as 3 cars pull into the already crowded driveway. Early wedding guests, no doubt. Dad rushes to intercept them, hands waving in what appears to be an explanation. One woman puts her hands to her face in shock. When Serena finally calls for the 6th time, I answer. What did you do? Her voice crackles with barely contained fury. Hello to you too, I reply, my voice remarkably steady. There are people here saying they have a contract for a tour group tomorrow at your house. My wedding is tomorrow, I correct her gently. My house, not your wedding venue. This is your house, she shrieks. You can tell these people to leave. You never asked me, Serena. The words flow easily, rehearsed in my mind for days. I bought this house with my money. I maintain it with my money, and I rented it as I wished. You knew about the wedding. Everyone knew. Everyone assumed. No one asked. I keep my tone even. This is what happens when you assume rather than ask for permission. You have to fix this. Panic edges into her voice. Call them off. The house is not available. Not tomorrow. Not for the weekend. I end the call and watch the chaos unfold. Mom frantically working her phone, probably calling every venue in a 50-mile radius. Dad shepherding confused guests back to their cars. Serena in animated conversation with the wedding planner, her arms gesturing wildly. An hour later, my phone pings with notifications. Social media updates from relatives are shifting from excitement about the beautiful beach wedding to confusion about venue complications. A cousin posts, anyone know what happened to the generous sister's offer? 20 minutes later, Thomas calls. His voice sounds different, measured, respectful. Rain, I want you to know I always felt uncomfortable about using your house without formally asking. Thank you for saying that, Thomas. My parents have agreed to host in their backyard. It won't be the beach, but with some quick rearranging, we can make it work. He pauses. I understand why you did this. After we hang up, I receive the first unexpected text from my Aunt Gloria. Always thought it strange they'd use your house without asking. Standing your ground takes courage. The tour company staff continues setting up their equipment. Beach chairs and neat rows facing the water. Informational placards about local marine life. A registration table on the front porch. I finally drive away, leaving my property being used exactly as I intended. With permission, with respect, with boundaries intact. For the first time in years, I feel something unfamiliar unfurling in my chest. It feels remarkably like freedom. 3 days later, the doorbell rings just as I'm organizing the last of my documentation. Through the people, I see my parents standing shoulder to shoulder, their postures rigid with indignation. I take a deep breath, tuck the final photograph into its folder, and open the door. Rain, Elizabeth Bennet, my mother says, her voice wavering between fury and tears. How could you humiliate your sister this way? Her wedding is in shambles. My father stands slightly behind her, his disappointment radiating like heat. After everything we've sacrificed for you, this is how you repay us? By destroying Serena's special day? I step back, gesturing toward my living room. Would you like to come in? Their momentary hesitation reveals their surprise at my calm. They expected tears or defensive anger, my usual response pattern. Instead, I lead them to the couch where 3 water glasses wait on coasters. I've anticipated this visit for days. You need to make this right, my mother continues, her voice gaining strength as she settles on my couch. A public apology at minimum, and you'll need to compensate for the venue change. Thomas's parents' backyard was barely adequate. My father leans forward, his tone softening into the reasonable voice he uses when closing business deals. Sweetheart, everyone makes mistakes, but this is family. If you don't make amends, I'm afraid you'll find yourself cut off from... I've prepared something I'd like you to see, I interrupt, sliding a thick blue folder across the coffee table. My mother glances at it without touching it. What's this supposed to be? Documentation, I answer, opening it myself. 5 years of boundary violations at my beach house. I've organized it chronologically. Fine now. Their expressions shift from righteous anger to wary confusion as I begin laying out photographs. Wine stains on my grandmother's quilt after an unauthorized small gathering that left 17 empty bottles.
Cigarette burns on the deck furniture from my cousin's friends. Muddy footprints across my white bedroom carpet from someone's dog. I've been silent for too long, I say, my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. Every time I asked for respect, you dismissed me. Every boundary I set, you crossed. Every boundary I set, my father shifts uncomfortably. That's just normal wear and tear. This isn't normal, I counter, pulling out a stack of receipts. These are the repair costs. Notice the signatures? All mine. I've never asked for a dime from any of you. My mother's face flushes. We're family. We shouldn't need formal invitations or... Family respects each other, I say, cutting her off with a gentleness that surprises even me. The house is mine. My name is on the deed. My money paid for it. I slide forward the property documentation, the mortgage statement, the insurance policy, all bearing only my name. You had no right to, my father begins. I had every right, I reply, tapping my finger on the deed, just as I had every right to rent it to the tour company. Their eyes widen as I pull out my phone and scroll to the security camera footage from 3 months ago. My mother leading 6 strangers through my bedroom, opening drawers, showing off our family beach house. This is private property, not a family timeshare, I say. And this, I place Serena's wedding invitation on top of the pile, was planned without my knowledge or consent. My mother's hands tremble slightly as she picks up the invitation. For the first time, I see uncertainty in her eyes. If you want any relationship with me going forward, these are my terms. I pull out a single sheet of paper. No one visits without explicit permission. I require advance notice and confirmation. All copies of my keys must be returned immediately. My father's face darkens. You can't dictate. I can and I am, I say, meeting his gaze. These aren't requests, they're requirements. The silence stretches between us. My mother stares at the evidence spread across the table, the physical manifestation of years of disregard. I never saw it from your perspective, she finally whispers, something genuine breaking through her defensive shell. My father rubs his face, suddenly looking older. We didn't think. It wasn't our intention to. Intent doesn't erase impact, I say, gathering the documents back into the folder. I love you both, but I won't compromise on this anymore. The power shift is palpable in the room. Their manipulation tactics, the tears, the guilt, the threats of exclusion, lie useless between us like spent ammunition. My father reaches into his pocket and places a key on the table. My mother hesitates before adding hers beside it. Serena has one too, my mother admits. I nod. I'll get it from her. She won't take this well, my father warns. That's not my responsibility, I reply. As they prepare to leave, my mother pauses at the door. Will you come to Sunday dinner next week? I meet her eyes steadily. I'll let you know by Thursday if I'm available. Something passes between us, a new understanding. She nods once, accepting this small but significant shift in our dynamics. After they leave, I stand in my quiet apartment, my heart racing, not with anxiety, but with a strange, unfamiliar lightness. For the first time in years, I feel the weight of their expectations lifting from my shoulders. I pick up the keys they left behind, symbols of a boundary finally respected, and place them in my desk drawer. The battle isn't over. Serena will be harder to convince than my parents. But for now, in this moment, I've reclaimed something essential. My house, my boundaries, my life. The morning sunlight spills across my deck as I settle into my porch swing, coffee mug warming my hands. 6 months have passed since the wedding debacle, and my beach house feels truly mine for the first time. No unexpected visitors, no rearranged furniture, no apologetic texts about borrowing the place for the weekend. I run my fingers along the new cushions I chose last month, soft teal fabric that reminds me of the ocean at midday.
The bookshelves I installed now hold my favorite novels instead of Serena's forgotten magazines. Wind chimes tinkle softly from the corner of the porch, a sound that has become synonymous with peace. This is what home should feel like, I whisper to myself, watching a pair of sandvipers dance along the shoreline. My phone buzzes with a text from James at work. Congrats again on the promotion. Bank's lucky to have you in charge of the commercial loan division. The promotion came after I pitched my own restructuring plan, instead of letting the VP take credit for my ideas. Something shifted inside me that day in the conference room when I said, actually, I developed this strategy and would like to present it myself. The confidence from standing up to my family spilled into every aspect of my life. Last Saturday, I had dinner with Mom and Dad for the first time in months. The conversation felt stilted at first, but they respected the boundaries I'd established. Dad asked before helping himself to more water. Mom called yesterday to thank me for coming, rather than assuming we'd meet again this weekend. Some relatives still don't understand. Aunt Patricia insists I'm holding a grudge, while Uncle Steve maintains family should have unlimited access to each other's homes. I've accepted that not everyone will adapt to the new normal. Thomas surprisingly calls occasionally, after marrying Serena at his parents' garden, which turned out beautifully despite the last-minute change. He seems genuinely invested in building a respectful relationship. Your sister is learning, he told me last week. Slowly, but she's trying. My doorbell chimes at exactly 11 o'clock. Serena stands on my porch, hands clasped nervously in front of her. Thanks for letting me visit, she says, waiting for me to invite her in. We walk to the kitchen where I've prepared a simple lunch. She notices the family photos I've rearranged on the wall, still present but no longer dominating the space. I like what you've done with the place, she offers, settling into a chair I gestured toward. Our conversation meanders through safe topics, until she finally says, I never really thought about how we treated your house before. I just assumed. That it was partly yours? I finish. She nods, examining her sandwich. I'm sorry. The words hang between us, fragile but sincere. At 4 o'clock, Anthony, she glances at her watch and stands. I should go. Thank you for respecting my time, I tell her, walking her to the door. Her smile is tentative but genuine. This was nice. Maybe we could do it again sometime? I'd like that, I reply, surprised to find I mean it. Later, sitting on my deck with Marlene and 2 new friends from my pottery class, I pour wine into mismatched glasses. We laugh as the sun begins its descent, painting the sky in vibrant oranges and pinks. My phone lights up with a text from Serena. Thanks for having me over today. Looking forward to next time. With permission, of course. I smile, setting down my phone to rejoin the conversation. The boundaries I've built haven't shrunk my world as I once feared. They've expanded it, creating space for relationships based on mutual respect, rather than obligation. The ocean breeze carries the scent of salt and possibility as evening settles around us. For the first time in years, I feel perfectly at home in my own life.